Hello, everybody, and welcome to Norm, the Cheers podcast that respects open marriages but doesn't practice them. It is great to be here this week. Sorry, we had a whole chat before all of this started where you know how you think you're like super open-minded and liberal, and then you start talking and you're like, oh, maybe not. Maybe not. It's in theory where you're like, boy, I respect everyone else's choices, and I would never make that. That's kind of where we were at. So there you go.
It's a big umbrella. It's a big umbrella.
Big umbrella. It is a big umbrella. Yeah. Wherever you're at. Should we restart or should we just keep going?
No, let's plow forward.
Let's do it.
All right. Push forward. Push forward.
Do it live.
We love all our polyamorous fans. Yeah. It's more my limitations, I think, that I'm getting out there. You know what I mean? It's my lack of availability as a spiritual person, I think. All right, season 4, episode 3. Someday my prince will come. I think I've come so far as a person, and then part of me is like, I'm still a little French Catholic boy from Rhode Island. That's still who I am. I'm wearing my tie in Sister Kathy's class. As much as I want to get away from them, that's still in me.
We don't transform so much as we evolve, and evolution is a slow process.
Indeed.
The Transformers will show you that's a quick process, but evolution is gradual.
So true. It was such a healthy way to put it. How was your week, everybody?
So far, so good.
Okay.
Hanging.
Yeah, we're recording this on a Monday, by the way, just in case anybody's wondering. If anything happens on like Tuesday and we don't address it, it's because we're doing this earlier.
Blissfully
I'm going to visit my dad.
Nice. I feel kind of bad for you guys that you're traveling when the weather's actually nice, like to Florida. So you're not getting the maximum benefit of the travel to Florida, where you're leaving the bad weather and you're getting there. Because I really desperately need the place that I'm leaving to be awful. To get maximum enjoyment from the place that I'm going.
It's in the 80s down there in Boca Raton, where my family and I are traveling to go visit my dad. You know, that's a significant enough jump that I can let go of this pleasantish New England spring in order to bask in it for a few days.
Mm. When you go down to Florida, like because Boca's just far enough from a lot of the big kid attractions. Like, do you still go to Disney when you do the family trip to Florida, or are you just enjoying the pool and the warmth?
It's just the kid is not a Disney kid. We even said like this time, if you want to make a day, because we could make like a day trip. You know, it's like 2 hours or 3 hours to get there, so we could. It's conceivable. And we were like, hey, it's just us and grandpa. And like, we could make this work. She was like, nah, I just want to like be in the pool. I just want to be in the pool and eat. That's pretty much her thing.
What about Universal or like Harry Potter World?
She loves Harry Potter and hates roller coasters. So she did Harry Potter. We did it a few years ago, and she really got into the vibe of the whole place, but also like was not interested in, more than half of the attractions.
Dang.
And so I think having now like kind of seen it, like it's like, all right, fine. I don't really need to do it again.
Mm-hmm. Did you visit the Simpsons Pavilion or whatever that's called?
Oh yeah. That ride was almost tame enough for her.
I'm a roller coaster enthusiast, so my heart is broken a little bit.
My wife and I too. We love a good thrill ride, and we thought she had changed a little bit. The kid had changed a little bit. We had been on the Mummy like 20 years ago or whatever when it opened, and so we dragged her on it, thinking like this is a really fun example of a roller coaster, and she had not changed. That was not her jam.
Well, Legoland might be more her speed.
Legoland is fun.
Legoland is her speed, exactly.
Yeah.
Edaville Railroad.
Just
never grow out of it.
A gentle orbit around a pond is nice.
Yep.
But yeah, our Florida time will be spent primarily basking.
Nice. I love Disney. I realize I've been so many times. Disney is my perfect speed. There's just enough intensity in some of the rides. I dig those. And then there's nice, fun, mellow rides. And I don't ever need to go to Six Flags again.
Really?
Six Flags, because Disney feels like it was built to make you happy.
Mm-hmm.
Six Flags, it feels like they're testing you.
Yeah.
What can you handle? Like Six Flags really feels like they tested all of these and they figured out the point where it hurt and they backed it off a little bit.
Yeah, Six Flags is the sort of like, do you even lift bro of amusement parks?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's too much. I did the Superman roller coaster. I might have talked about this before. I did the Superman coaster at Six Flags. And halfway through, I was like, this is the best ride ever. And then like 30% more, I was like, are we not done? And then we went another 10%. And I'm like, you got to be shitting me. And then we finally got off. And I was like, I never want to do that again.
No.
Oh, it was epic. It was epic.
You went through all 5 stages of grief?
It was too much. And I still haven't hit acceptance.
Mike rode the Kubler-Ross coaster.
Oh, man. The first time I went to Six Flags New England was for my birthday with like a group of friends as a kid. And I think this is not long after they opened the Batman ride. And of course, we're being chaperoned and my mom's there. And I'm like I said, I'm a big time roller coaster enthusiast. My mom, not so much, but I'm sitting with my mom. It's my 2 cousins behind us and everything. And like more of my friends from school and everything. My mom is just like strapped in the Batman coaster. and she's such like a gangsta Caribbean mom because this thing is just whipping and turning and tossing us all around. This whole time she's just looking at her watch. Just to time and see the difference between how long we waited in line versus how long the actual ride is.
That is badass.
No matter how much fun it is, she's a consumer at heart.
Yes.
Yep. Am I getting value?
Precisely.
I love that. If you ever go to Southern California, Canopy Lake is a great amusement park.
It's a chain? I only know the one in New Hampshire.
Oh, not Canopy Lake. I'm sorry. What am I thinking of? Knott's Berry Farm.
Okay.
Knott's Berry Farm.
I apologize.
Yeah. What the?
I apologize. Canopy Lake is also a fun New England amusement park. Knott's Berry Farm is a great amusement park. Absolutely worth checking out. Lots of coasters, really fun, but not Six Flags. You might not make it out of here fun. It's good. I
like the danger of Six Flags. I like that not even just the rides, but the food there could kill you. I like. Oh, Dave is okay. There you are.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like the world has become my Six Flags. I need a respite from it.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, no, thank you. All right. But speaking of challenging adventures, season 4, episode 3, Someday My Prince Will Come. I had a lot of emotions about this week's episode. Dave, what was going on when this debuted?
This episode debuted on the 17th of October, 1985. Was preempted the previous week by Game 2 of the AL and NLCS.
Was
right
that the
now,
Royals?
It was the Royals beating, I forget who they beat in the ALCS, and then the Cardinals beat the Dodgers. I looked at the Billboard charts for this week, and number 1 is "Take on Me" by Aha. As MTV is sort of like asserting its hold on the popular music of the time. But one thing that struck me, which led me to like this other article, which I'll recommend, is just like how if in the top 10, once you get past Aha and Whitney Houston and Stevie Wonder at the first 3 spots, you get Dire Straits, David Bowie, and Mick Jagger doing "Dancing in the Street," You got Sting, Bruce Springsteen, Glenn Frey. There's like a Starship is in here. There's a real kind of like 70s kind of leftover kind of legacy rock feel to this top 50, and it made me think like it led me to start researching like when the big switch to SoundScan, which was in 1991, because I never realized how haphazard the top 10s, or the countdowns for music were prior to SoundScan. Like record stores were just kind of like giving places like Billboard a sense of like what was selling, sort of. So like, if you're a record store owner in the 80s and you're predisposed to thinking that Glenn Frey is a rock star, you're probably telling them that Glenn Frey is selling better than Glenn Frey actually is. So it's funny to be like, we're right on the cusp of that, of digital information starting to shatter the gatekeeping at Billboard. But we're still kind of in the middle of it. And it's reflected in this like very kind of white list that we still get, even as like, and it also like made me think like how how wild it is that Whitney Houston had the support that she did from a record label, like a young Black woman for a record label to be like, we are pushing you to the top of the charts and to be a major star. Like how undeniable must her talent have been for Clive Davis to look at her and be like, yes, we're putting everything behind you. Because everything else is
the
just
silver spoons treatment.
Really, because everything is so like kind of legacy and white. It's really kind of bizarre. So anyway, there's a great article on the Ringer about SoundScan, which just celebrated its 30th year last year. So I encourage anybody who's interested in this to check it out, because I was after looking at the charts for like a year, I was like, this is kind of a funny thing that keeps happening, where you keep sort of seeing like Bob Seger's and Glenn Frey's and Don Henley's and songs that never enter the public sort of consciousness in a way that a lot of some of the other music of the time did. But it still pops up on the charts. Check out that Ringer article if you want to know more about it.
All right, check it out. And I think that's a great segue into us joining the Ringer Podcast Network. We are so happy.
Thrilled to be here.
I haven't told Dave and Tookie yet, but yeah, it's a very big moment. Very big moment. And we're going to get paid at some point. We haven't discussed financial terms, but I'm sure they're going to be fair.
I'm just happy to be recognized.
That's all we're looking for. Tookie, what happened in this week's Cold Open, please?
Let me pull that up. I have to say though, Aha's Take on Me, all-time bop.
Agreed, 100%.
Yeah.
Tremendous video at the time as well. It really got attention.
Oh yeah. But like one of the all-time songs. You can't not enjoy yourself when you hear that song.
Outstanding.
Yeah. That falsetto?
Maybe, yeah, like certainly like one of the best one-hit bands of all time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, but they're still big. Up until recently, they were still big in Europe. Yeah.
Hey, ring every last drop.
Yeah. Okay. So the intro. So we enter in on the bar that is packed full because everybody's watching a Pats game, which we deduce from context, and everybody's cheering, and Cliff, hey, great game. Cliff says, hey, look, they're showing chicks in the stands. Oh, look at that one, come to Papa, which, stop it, Cliff. Norm says, yeah, Cliffy, they didn't build that stadium for nothing in Foxborough, or that stadium in Foxborough for nothing, to which Woody replies, they sure didn't. I bet it cost millions. My joke of the week. And Diane is about to wants to close out a pair of customers' tabs, and she says, "I'm sure." And they're a stuffy old white couple, by the way. She says, "I'm sure you're wondering why a person of my breeding would be working among the lumpen proletariat." Which, and she said, "Would you mind?" And so she just helps herself to a seat, and she says, "I'm researching a novel. Working here gives me insight into their simple pleasures." And what you can hear in the background as she says that it's just like more yelling and cheering, cut back to Norm and the gang. Says, Oh yeah, they're zooming in on the cheerleaders, and Sam says, I think I've zoomed in on that one myself, which gross. And then cut back to Diane. This language supplies the rich textures that distinguished Fitzgerald's work. Cut back to Norm and Cliff. Norm says, oh, Cliffy, here comes the wave. So the whole bar does the wave all the way to the front to the back of the bar. And Diane joins in that initial wave. And the stuffy old couple exchange glances like, what is happening? And to which Diane replies, we have to go along with them or else they get testy. And then a second wave commences and Diane and the stuffy old couple join in and sit back down, roll credits.
Amen. One of the worst things to come out of the 80s.
The wave?
I used to love doing the wave at Fenway. That was like as a young teenager, there was no greater joy.
Mike, I didn't know you hated the wave. That's a shock.
I am such a grumpy crank when it comes to the wave. Maybe it's because so many of my sports venues are uncomfortable. And so I'm already like, how many times do I have to get in and out of this awful wooden blue seat?
Oh.
Can I just stay here, please? What are we doing? What the hell are we doing? Watch the game.
I appreciate, and maybe I should become a Japanese baseball fan because I think they have some celebrations like this too. But I appreciate any celebration, any ceremony I can participate in where the rules are extremely clear. Like I'm so grateful to be told like when to stand up and when to sit down. Maybe it's from going to synagogue. I don't know, but I like that. Just feels I feel like I can participate fully in a way because I know exactly what to do.
All right, there you go. Dave likes the powerful strong man. Mad respect. All right, let's delve into this week's episode. So I touched on this briefly last week. It's not a bad episode. I had a lot of thoughts about this week's episode. I liked a lot of it. I feel very bad for this actor.
He's not even
had to get called in, and the part was for unattractive man.
He's not even that struggle faced.
I know.
He wasn't hard looking.
Yeah, I agree. Stuart, not a bad looking fella. Yeah. Dan Shaughnessy's younger brother. It's right there. It's fine. But yeah, it was hard for me to ever get past that the whole episode about feeling bad for the actor playing Stuart Sorensen. I just kept thinking about that. Like, he was probably happy for the job. I mean, it was a big part. It was good. I went on his IMDb and there weren't a lot of other credits. So I was happy for him. He was also in Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, a movie I will go to bat for as a great late night summer movie. If you're ever flipping around the channels, Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead always makes me happy. I like it very much.
What part did he play?
Very small part. He was the manager of the Clown Dog franchise that Christina Applegate walks out of.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mr. Egg was the character's name.
Yeah. So as I said, this was clearly the highlight of, what was the actor's name, Dave?
Frank Dent.
This is Frank Dent's highlight. I don't think there's any arguing that Frank Dent has dined out on this episode of Cheers for quite a while. And I believe he was in an episode of Simon and Simon.
He had a recurring role on St. Elsewhere, too.
Was he recurring on St. Elsewhere? Who did he play?
He played... Hang on. Come on, click. He played Dr. Stephen Kiley. He was on 14 episodes.
Wow.
Good run.
Okay.
I saw St. Elsewhere much earlier than I should have seen St. Elsewhere.
What is that supposed to mean?
Much earlier.
What is that supposed to mean?
Like, I was definitely younger than 10. I remember watching it when I was living in Rhode Island. And did you ever watch St. Elsewhere?
No. Whenever I think about, whenever someone says, "Oh, I was watching that way too young," I always think about this ex that I have, who once told me that, like, as a child, his family let him watch the Dolomite movies.
Yeah.
That's a powerful experience.
If St. Elsewhere is a brilliant show, it was the launching pad for Denzel Washington. Yeah, that was his first big time job, was St. Elsewhere. He was a series regular on that. But yeah, the subject matter should not have been watched by 9-year-old Mike D. Should not have occurred. But hey, we had cable. It was a journey. It was an experience.
How else are you going to learn, you know?
There's no other way to learn. So anyway, yeah, it kept being weird. So the A story this week, real quick, the B story, if you want to call it that. Carla brings in a science project for her child, asks Diane to help with it because she's smart. Diane does not want to help with this homework, which Diana is being a little bit of a nudge there. Brings it over to Cliff, who offers to help. She grudgingly lets Cliff help, asks Norm if he wants to help as well, says no, Cliff gets a free beer for helping out, and Norm is now into helping out. They go in and they work on this project, and when they crank it up, somehow it travels from Cliff's neck right down to his lower regions, and he is stimulated. And then Norm says, "What should we do?" And he says, "Crank it up again," which is one of the most uncomfortable scenes in all of Cheers. Yeesh. Cliff just in front of everybody, instructing his buddy Norm to fire up the nether region machine again. Really weird.
This is definitely the second time in 3 episodes where Cliff is directly stimulated by Norm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. The letter from Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's like, guys, just let Cliff be Cliff.
At this point, I'm like, let's let Norm be Norm, and let's let Norm and Cliff be Norm and Cliff.
Yeah. I mean, like, how much harder does Norm have to tell people, like, I don't like my wife. I don't ever want to get her pregnant. I want to spend all of my time with Cliff, and we refuse to admit why.
Is this sort of giving you like Joel Schumacher's Batman and Robin vibes?
All right. I mean, well, no, because this is good.
I would kill to see nipples on a postal uniform, though.
I tried. So it's on Hulu right now, and I rewatched. Yeah, I rewatched the Nicholson Batman, and it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I got through like halfway through Batman Returns, and I had to turn it off and do something, and I never felt moved to go back to it.
Damn.
I am very tempted to watch Batman and Robin. Batman Forever, I don't need to watch. That was bleh.
Is that the one with Batman like the credit card, like the Bat card and the?
That was Batman and Robin. Batman Forever was the first one of Val Keaton. It was the first Joel Schumacher one. It was Val Kilmer as Batman, who I thought was a decent Batman, by the way. And so, and Jim Carrey was a good Riddler, and Tommy Lee Jones never looked at the character of Two-Face at all.
Ooh.
Yeah, like he was just clearly trying to do his impression of Jack Nicholson's Joker. Had no idea what Two-Face was supposed to be whatsoever. I'm nerding out a little bit.
Which one is the one with Ice to Meet You?
That's Batman and Robin.
Okay.
Batman and Robin has Arnold Schwarzenegger as Dr. Freeze and Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy.
Yeah.
Yep. And Alicia Silverstone comes in as Batgirl.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's terrible, but I'm tempted to watch because it's so bad. It was. I'm almost positive I've mentioned this story, but it was so bad. I saw it when I was on tour. We were in Western Oregon during a heat wave. It was 117 degrees. And that was the only reason I saw the end of Batman and Robin. Because the theater was air conditioned, and my tour partner and I kept leaning over to each other and saying, "Do you want to go?" And we're like, "It's so hot out. Do you want to leave? It's very hot." And eventually the credits rolled. And that's how I saw all of Batman and Robin in the theater.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. Batman Forever, we had a good Batman. George Clooney, and he fully acknowledges, had no clue what the hell he was doing. Mm-hmm. The script had no clue what it was. Because they were trying to bring back some of the campiness, but if you're going to do campy, you've got to go full camp, like the Batman series, which was a comedy.
Mm-hmm.
It was a fully realized comedy, brilliantly performed by people who understood they were doing comedy and committed to the seriousness in a funny way. It was perfect. This was, you're still sort of in the universe that they created for Tim Burton, but not totally. And yeah, now you've got a Batman credit card, and it's all weird. They want you to somehow get caught up in the drama of it while also doing the camp, and you can't really do that. Anyway, this is for the Batman podcast later on. But yeah, where did I leave off? Oh, sorry, homoeroticism. Yes.
Yes.
But yeah, we were done with that subject anyway. So, a story. Diane finds a beautiful Burberry coat. Was it Burberry?
Cashmere with a Burberry lining, I guess.
Yeah. But that's like the Burberry is the maker, right? So it's cashmere material, but it's a Burberry lining, which tells them it's a Burberry coat. If I understand couture the way that I know I don't, I believe that's what it is.
Yeah, it's a Bemberg lining.
Bemberg lining. Bemberg lining. Thank you. I'm sorry. So she's really impressed by this garment. Talks about it, tries to imagine who owned it. And Sam is teasing her about this, and it escalates to the point where she starts talking about how the man who owns this coat might be the most attractive man I've ever met. And he calls to say he forgot his coat, and Sam is challenging Diane, and Diane makes a date with this gentleman sight unseen. Comes in and is supposed to be quite unattractive, and gives her a chance to get out of it. And she says, "Oh no!" And they go out on a date, and then time passes. They've been dating for a while. Diane comes in. Woody says something tasteless that he doesn't realize is tasteless. Can your boyfriend do that trick? What trick? The one where he makes a clock stop just by looking at it? And it's a very well delivered line that makes me a little bit sad.
That went over my head. I don't quite get that.
Oh, it's an old phrase. So ugly you could stop a clock.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. It's mean.
Yeah, that's I've never heard that before, and that's really mean.
Yeah. Yep. So Diane is upset, and she brings Sam into the office, saying, "May I speak with you briefly?" And he says, "You could, but I doubt you will," which I think is my joke of the week. It's a very good joke. They go in, and he is ready for her to yell at him, and actually, she's bringing Sam in for advice because she has to finally admit that she can't stop thinking, "Why aren't you great looking?" She does not want to keep dating Stuart. She needs a great way to get out of it. And yeah, the other contender for my joke of the week is actually also in this moment where Sam is saying, this is a moment where I could say I told you so, but I don't think it's the time now. So if you could remind me later, I would appreciate it. Just very, very well delivered. Very funny line. And yeah, he tells her, this is one of my good lines, is you can just tell him that I have a contagious skin disease and insanity runs in my family. It's great, it's quick, it's painless, and it makes them want to get away from you. She is shocked and offended and can't believe that she was even considering doing this. And then she goes back out, and she thinks that Stuart is about to tell her that he loves her, and she blurts out, "I have a contagious skin disease and insanity runs in my family." He says, "Oh, it's so bad. I feel terrible about my good news," which is that he has gotten back together with his ex-girlfriend and they're going to try to make a serious go of it. She is so relieved. I think Stuart is starting to pick up on what was about to happen, but then Stuart goes happily, and Sam challenges Diane on the fact that all that really matters to her is looks, and he can prove it because the most serious relationship of her life was with him, and the only reason anyone goes out with him is for his looks. And he says, the only reason anyone would go out with me is because of my looks. Admit it. Can you think of any other reason anyone would go out with me? And she says, "No, Sam, I can't." And end episode. So yeah, there's some good jokes in this episode. It's well written. This episode made me think, there are times where I view an episode like this as a filler episode where it doesn't further the arc along very much. I don't feel like anyone has changed very much. But at the same time, I'm trying to remember it's 24 episodes a year, and not everyone can slowly move this forward. So it does, I feel like, tells you something about the characters and also about Diane and what keeps bringing her back to Sam. That is a big factor that she doesn't want to admit about who she is. So I liked it. I felt bad for Fred Dent, but other than that, I enjoyed it. What were your thoughts?
This episode, like watching it, it felt very clear that like we are now in that phase of Cheers where we're going to be for the next 2 seasons, I think, where Diane is unquestionably the antagonist at all times. Like by sort of leaning into the character's shallower side, which I think is something that they do for the next pretty good stretch. She does, like, you could really feel like the bar starting to take on like the quality of like, here are the people in the bar and here is Diane kind of on the outside of them without the romantic attachment to Sam, without she's burned her bridge with Frasier. There's still feelings and rawness, but it's couched in this kind of like antagonism that's gonna like continually rear its head, and she's gonna continually play the heavy as we go along, to the point where like by the time I feel like Diane leaves the show, it's like things have gotten like kind of nasty, frankly, to that character. Not because of anything Shelley Long is doing, but just because of the choices that they've made in the writing room.
Yeah, and you could see she has a scene with Woody where she's talking about seeing Baryshnikov dance. And it's funny because you're seeing that's a moment where they're trying to recreate what she had with Coach. And as good as Woody is, it's different.
Yeah.
Where he's so like enthusiastic and simple about it. Yeah. And it just plays differently, where you could feel like she had an emotional connection to Coach, whereas she looks upon Woody as, oh, you poor sweet hick.
Kid brother.
And yeah, it plays differently, and you're missing that. We talked about that when Coach leaves, an important outlet for Diane has gone too, and never fully gets replaced.
Yeah, Woody definitely lines up on the side of the lumpen masses,
Yeah. Because it's important that Woody can't stand up to those guys the way that Coach sometimes would. Where, Coach could yell at somebody. It didn't happen a lot. And obviously, he was an incredibly sweet character, but he was also somebody who would put people in their place and that nobody would put down.
Yeah.
But they would as much as they love Woody, they do that with Woody. It's very different. And he does side with them and he needs them to like him in a different way than Coach did, which makes Woody less of a potential ally for Diane than Coach was. So yeah, it is. It changes things for Diane in the bar.
And I think it's really clear, even from the cold open, like that's a real, like we're leaning into like the cultural difference between Diane Chambers and everyone around her at all times.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Tookie, what'd you think?
This episode overall, I think I found the right descriptor for episodes that are like, they're not main story momentum givers, but they're not completely fillers. This is mild Tabasco.
Interesting. Why do you categorize it as mild Tabasco?
Yeah, because it could be the sauce, but it's not quite.
Okay.
Yeah. Where it has like the good bones, good story overall. There's jokes, there's writing. It doesn't feel like complete fluff. It adds a little something, but it's not the complete sauce. It's mild Tabasco.
It doesn't stay with you for a while.
Right.
Yeah. I got you. Good way to put it.
Yeah.
Good way to put it. Yeah. And I don't want to be too harsh on this episode. Because like I said, they've got 24 episodes of TV to write. That's a lot of TV. And there is nothing wrong with this week's episode. But I'm realizing also, even though later seasons did have some arc, and we've talked about it, it also, I judge those later episodes less harshly when they're not anything big. They're more self-contained moments. And I expect that more later on than I do now. Now I'm like, all right, well, Diane is back from the wedding and back from the convent, and what's going on with her and Sam? And when there's nothing moving them forward at all, even though there are things about their characters that we are learning and why they are meant to be together for at least some stretch, it's weird. And it does feel like, okay, well, we didn't really make progress this week. Yeah. you feel that in a way that you don't feel later on because there's no real progression with Sam and Rebecca at any point. It's all just individual moments every week in a very funny way. But yeah, it's different. It's different.
Watch it, thinking about like the way that they talk about Frank Dent's Stewart's looks. I just remembered that there's an episode in the first season of Taxi where Judd Hirsch's character goes out with the voice of Bobby's answering service because she's got an attractive voice and like everybody likes that. She's a really good conversationalist, and he goes out with her, and she's like she's like a larger woman, and like they make the whole episode about the fact that like about how this is like, this is so like it's supposed to be sort of groundbreaking feeling TV where like you could actually have like a less attractive woman go on a date with somebody, and that's supposed to be like compelling TV and reason enough to like kind of root for Judd Hirsch's character. And this spoiler, it ages really badly. It's a tough watch. This episode felt like they kind of learned some lessons from that Taxi episode and tried to give Stewart, like tried to soften that story. Like, here's a person that we're going to say is unattractive, but actually is just sort of normal looking. And we're going to make
and also has a lot going for him outside his looks.
Yeah. As like, but at the same time, it holds up okay, but it's still, it does kind of make for tough. Like the whole time you're kind of going, what, like, this is a guy. It's just a guy. There's nothing so drastically unappealing about him.
Yeah. It's one of those moments where I almost want them to just cast an attractive. I'm usually against this, but in a situation where it's about a character being unattractive, I almost wish they would cast an attractive character and put them in unattractive makeup and
like
garb.
Like a Marilyn Munster kind of dynamic?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. And I will say, too, no disrespect to Judd Hirsch, but I'm so over this whole thing that movies and TV, just media at large, has set up where there's this double standard, this sexist dynamic where a dude could look like a thumb. And he's entitled to a woman who's like an 8+. I hate that.
I don't see how Judd Hirsch could take that badly. I think he'll be fine with that. He watches the show.
Yeah. Sorry, Judd. I'm just keeping it real. That's all.
Nothing wrong with a thumb, Judd.
Nah, nothing at all.
It's what makes humans humans.
Yep.
We need that thumb. All right. Tookie and I got our jokes of the week in there. Dave, what's your joke of the week?
I'll go with the classic Woody Sam exchange. Woody, can you count these? Woody looks and says, "Sure, Sam. They're Asian." And Sam says, "Thanks, Woody. That's what I got too."
Great moment. Dave, what's your 80s moment of the week?
My 80s moment.
Mike.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no, Mike, he's back.
Okay. I had to check my note. Sorry.
I gotta go with Sam's creased jeans. Sam has those jeans ironed to a knife-like edge. Those jeans are creased, and that is an 80s thing to my eye.
I didn't even realize that.
Oh, when he's got his leg up, I forgot it's on the bar, on the desk or something. It is. I mean, I worry about anybody putting their hands near his legs.
Danger, Will Robinson. All right, my 80s thing of the week is just, and I've done it before, but whenever it happens, it hits me and it overwhelms everything else. Just how impressive it was to make a phone call from your car in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
How it was like you were saying you were calling from the moon. It was such a big thing. And Sam just saying, yeah, I'd kill for a car phone. It was so expensive. It was so special. You were so impressed when it occurred. Nothing said opulence like having a car phone. Amazing.
And what a life you had to be living, whether you were like somebody like that needed to be in constant contact for romantic partners or in constant contact to work, like to need that level of connection in your car at all times, like it signified a person who was living a full 80s style lifestyle.
Yeah. And it reminds you how much we don't need the constant connection that we have right now. Like when you understand just how few people used to have that connection and how the world kept spinning, how much we don't need the constant connection of our current lives. Yep. Tookie, your 80s moments.
Okay, a couple leapt out at me. The fact that Foxborough Stadium was newly built, and they were talking about that. That
can we also? I want to make sure
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I just want to make sure we circle the fact that this is the first time that the word Foxborough has ever been associated with physical attractiveness.
Amen. Oof. When was Foxborough Stadium built? This is 85. Was it built in the 70s, Dave? Could you check that?
I'll check.
I want to say that was it was probably like 10 years old at that point. Because the Patriots were just like an itinerant team for forever, where they played just anywhere that would have them. And they finally built an awful stadium that was awful the day it was built in Foxborough.
When it started as Schaefer Stadium, 71.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Okay. I thought it was newer than that. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Fun fact, when they moved to Foxborough originally, because they were originally the Boston Patriots, they played in Fenway Park. They played at the BU. They played at, multiple places. When they moved to Foxborough, they were originally going to be called the Bay State Patriots until someone realized that would make them the BS Patriots, and they changed it to New England Patriots.
Great moments in copyright editing history.
Yeah.
When someone finally leaned over and went, "Hey, you see those initials right there?"
Good catch.
Yeah. Any further 80s moments?
Yes. So Foxborough Stadium, the fact that it cost millions to build back then versus the average couple bill that it takes to erect a stadium. Referring to Carla's kids' science fair entry as a marital aid.
Oh,
like all sorts of gadgets and contraptions being marital aids back in the 80s. Asking someone out on a date via the phone, like that whole premise, I feel like that was very much of a bracket of time, right? Like people date via the phone now, swiping and such, but like hearing someone's voice and thinking, you sound good, let me ask you out. That feels of a time. And lastly, Stewart's whole look, the curly fro and the thick glasses, and that being unattractive, that feel like those as signifiers of nerddom and like unattractiveness, that feels very 80s.
Yeah. Although came back in with John Hader and Napoleon Dynamite pretty hard.
You feel like this guy might have been Seth Rogen's dad.
Ooh, wow.
It's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible. All right. Tookie, how white was this week's episode?
Oh, man. We regressed a little bit this episode. I was disappointed. So in the cold open, only one person of color, an Asian woman who was sitting by the piano. Scene one Black woman by the jukebox, a Black woman standing with a group of people behind Norm, a Black woman at the bar to the left of the door, like facing the entrance, a Black woman who kind of passed around the bar. You could see her. She was wearing like a black and white striped shirt. And a Black man sitting behind Norm and Cliff. Scene 2, no people of color. Scene 3, there was a Black man sitting by the jukebox, another Black man by the bar, or sitting at the bar to Sam's right if you're facing the entrance. A Black man in a raincoat who joins two women at the back of the bar. A Black woman sitting with another man by the jukebox, and an Asian woman, possibly a reused extra, who passes behind Diane and has like a really cool red purse.
Yeah.
So in total, 11.
All right, moving in the wrong direction, season 4. Wrong direction.
Regressing.
All right, the Sam creepy quotient this week. An interesting week for the Sam Creepy quotient. Like, I feel like there weren't a lot of moments that were super high on the quotient, but there were a lot of moments.
A lot of moments.
Yeah, lots of put your hand in my pocket moments.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm feeling a strong 14 this week.
Yeah.
The volume of it. Not so much the content of the creepage, but like just the one line after another.
The second time I watched it, I noticed a lot more moments where Diane sort of spurred a couple of those moments with flirtation. So I think my scale came down a little bit upon the second viewing. Yeah, I'm probably somewhere around like a 9.
There was a neat moment where we got a peek inside of Carla's relationship to Sam as a creepy boss, where after he says the marital aid thing, like she gives him a look which to my eye said like, oh Jesus.
Yeah.
And like it's something you never get from usually Carla's like unstintingly sympathetic. And it was like you can just see Carla was like, I've had like for whatever reason today, like I've had enough out of you. Which for me like put him up. Like I think he was up in the 10 range. Like when Carla can't deal anymore, I think that's a signal to all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a note. Nope. Yep. All right. How are we feeling about this week's episode overall? As we put it to bed.
There was some real fun, like vain Sam stuff that I thought works really well towards, maybe not deepening on our understanding, but like no, it is deepening our understanding of who this guy is. Like he is absolutely shallow, and he is absolutely vain, and he's absolutely aware of how shallow and vain he is, and he's happy to kind of play it for a joke, like when he says that he is a 12 on a scale of 1 to 10. Like he plays it for a laugh, but he also genuinely believes in his own attractiveness.
Yes.
And that stuff like that I thought was actually pretty fun and useful. And understanding that like that vanity, he knows that he understands that vanity and like understands how hard he can be on some level to people who don't match his standards of beauty. And like I was glad they kind of had him vocalize like, all right, I was being mean about Stuart. I'm not a terrible person. I'm just an unrelentingly shallow person.
Yeah. Yep. Good point. All right. Putting this one to bed. And what do we have to plug this week? Anyone doing anything fun this weekend?
Traveling. That's it.
Oh, yeah. We're going to be off next week.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to watch this one 3 or 4 times to carry you through.
It's nice of us to keep it on the shorter side. It makes it easier to just kind of like rewatch it right from the beginning.
Yeah, we're not going to the 59, 57 mark this week, I don't think. Yeah, the content it just won't hold up for it. Yeah, we didn't have another Charles Grodin masterpiece to add in. We had to change out our cable box this week, and my copy of Midnight Run is now gone.
No.
It was on my old DVR. I had to say goodbye to, like, I had a very nicely curated DVR, and now it's all gone.
No.
Yeah.
What? The box just pooped out?
No, it was, so like we wanted to be able to watch 2 screens. So they said, oh, if you get this one, then you can go wirelessly to the other TV with this other little box. We said, okay, well, we'll do that. And then now it's not working that well either. So there's a really good chance that I lost Midnight Run, and it's not even worth it for the other box. So it's all bad. I lost The Hustler. I lost The Sting. I lost Fletch. I lost Midnight Run. I lost 48 Hours.
Mike, I feel like
I lost a lot.
This list, like I don't believe anybody's culture adequately paints a picture of an entire human, but that list does a lot of work towards that end for you.
Yeah. My condolences, honestly.
Yeah, there's a lot of me in that list. Yeah. It is rough. It is sad. We lost a lot of good stuff.
Stuff that is eminently unreplaceable, except by pressing a button.
I have to pay for it. These are all things that are not on streamers.
You got to keep
we just confirmed. I mean, I know I can buy it. I can buy Midnight Run and I can own a copy of it. But my point is, before I didn't have to. I had it. It was right there.
This is painting a more complete picture.
Now it's fully there. I'm like, look, I need that $10. Come on. Come on.
Yeah, I feel your pain though, because I had Mommy Dearest saved on my parents' DVR, which I could access
anytime you needed it
from my phone, but it got deleted because we went over capacity because my dad recorded some 49ers games for some reason.
Yep.
Wait, like Joe Montana, Steve Young 49ers, or like
no, like recent.
Oh boy, that's a tragedy.
It is. Oh. It is.
Like
even
Garoppolo.
Mrs. Garoppolo wasn't recording 49ers games this week. Oof.
Like if the Kaepernick era, like absolutely. Yeah. Like hold on to that.
Yeah. No. So my
but also like I had that reunion episode of Parks and Rec from when the pandemic started that I loved. Yeah.
Oh.
It's those moments. It's like, oh, I had when the Patriots won the Super Bowl, and I had the local news following right after that.
Yeah, I have some of that stuff.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn. Oh.
Yep.
I'm so sorry.
It's terrible.
So, do you want to put up your?
It's hard being me.
Do you want to put up your Venmo so people can send you donations to make it through this time?
Please.
Okay.
I'll throw that on there. Yep. The Mike Dorval Old Movie Fund. There you go. That was actually so. I don't know if this is going to sound creepy, but I'll share it and then you can delete it later. But that was when I was dating. No, it's not as bad as it sounds. When I was dating though, because I love these old movies. On my first date, a great line was always, because you like meet online and you'd share stuff, and I would talk about old movies that I really loved, and like it would always get to talking about that, and I would say, my dad always makes fun of me because he always said I didn't sleep for the first 2 years of my life, and so he always had to stay up at night watching old movies with me. And I think that's why I always love old movies now, because it was very soothing to be there with my dad and get to hang out with him for the night. And that was a great line.
Wow.
That line worked like gangbusters.
Okay.
Yep. It's a good line, isn't it? I mean, it was true. It wasn't a line, but when they would say that, I would always talk about that, and they'd be like, "Oh, what are you writing, Dave?"
I'm just
just in case you're out on the market again.
You never know.
Yep.
Scheming. Well, I'm taking note.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking note for who's running a line.
It's true. It's something I would share, and it worked.
I mean, we learned from this week's episode of Cheers that you can't always count on this to seal the deal. Sometimes you got to have, and me especially, like if I present this, I better have lines aplenty.
All right. I'm curious. Be nice to yourself, Dave. I am curious, Tookie, as a woman who has been out on the market more recently than Dave or I have been out on the market, in terms of lines, like if someone has said something that they know has been very well received by the person that they are trying to date in the past, and then you say it again at another point, is that bad, or is that just, hey, I know this works and I'm presenting myself well and this is fine? Like, is having a line bad?
It's just, it reveals intentions that are not permanent. If you have a stock line ready to go to use on whomever, it's like, what are your true intentions? How permanent are you trying to make your situation when dating?
Okay, I take umbrage simply because here's the thing. whenever you're dating somebody new, the intentions is the same, which is, all right, I hope this goes well, and I hope this continues, and hopefully we make a connection, and maybe this will be the person I spend the rest of my life with. So isn't your intention essentially the same each time you meet, and then you see what the result is? I mean, it'd be one thing if I was making that up and saying something that was not true about myself, because I know that women enjoy this. If I was talking about my car phone, then that's a bad line. That's a disingenuous line. Right. But if it's like, this is a thing about me, and here's why this is a thing about me, and I know that people enjoy when I say this thing about me, and I want you to like me, so I'm telling you this thing that I have found other people to like about me, then isn't that just like telling you something about me that is true in a good way?
That is, I think, a marker of the distinction between Gen X and millennials in terms of the dating.
How so?
Because having had spent some time swiping years ago, it's like, yeah, you know, serious intent, thinking about like, I hope this goes well. What if this is a person who I could potentially spend my life with? Isn't something that goes through a lot of guys within a certain age bracket's mind, especially because, you know, a lot of people don't realize dating apps are essentially, I mean, that's the way that people go now. I think when you guys were dating, it was far more abnormal to meet someone online, whereas that's the only way people meet nowadays. But I think people aren't aware of the fact that online dating is not what it used to be, in that it's gamified now. Like, it's gamified, and the apps are essentially designed to keep you single.
That's interesting. Yeah, because when I was doing online, it was very clearly like, you're on here so that you can meet someone that you want to spend the rest of your life with.
Correct.
Yeah, there was no hookup app. Well, because there were no apps.
Right.
And you know, you had to type in that whole address every time.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just different now, and people just casual dating is the norm rather than partner finding.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I always considered it very much partner finding. And so I was like, all right, I'm telling you true things about me. Yeah. Like, I can't.
Yeah, I'm looking at it from the lens of someone who's been in the dating market before, but it shifted from partner finding to hookup finding.
Got it.
Fascinating.
Got it.
Yeah. It's wild out there.
I'm never leaving the house.
No.
Not worth it.
Nope. Incentive to make it all work. All right. So any shows to plug?
Nothing this week.
All right. I'm at the Comedy Studio on Saturday for 2 shows.
Woo!
So come on out. It'll be a time. Check it out. I promise nothing more than a time. It'll be 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock.
Nice.
Yeah, you know what? They're going to be good shows. I've seen the lineup. Those are good shows.
Yeah.
Those are worth checking out. Come on out. All right. For Dave, for Tookie, I am Mike. Whatever kind of marriage you're in, I hope it's a happy one. And we wish you nothing but love and joy. Bye, everybody.